So with her speech, the Dan model, will you please welcome Tarn Wallace? Are you quite ready, Tom? No, not this one. Just wait. Okay. Use this one. Please welcome Tarn Wallace with a Dan model.
That wasn't how I planned to start my speech, but I will start my speech anyway. Who's heard of the Hoover Dam? Everyone? Yes? So, you've heard of the Grand Coulee Dam? Oh, Renee? What about the Margie's Dam? Have we all heard of the Three Gorges Dam?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, yeah? 6 people. Well, the Three Gorges Dam is the largest dam in the world at the moment. It's due for completion next year, 2015. Three Gorges Dam is located on the Yangtze River in China. It's situated in between the Three Gorges, hence why its name is Three Gorges Dam. Why was the Three Gorges Dam built? Well, the Yangtze River is notorious for having severe floods every 10 years. So the Chinese government, to combat the flooding, they've always had plans to build a dam. Don't know whether it was always going to be the world's largest dam, but that was always on the card. Another reason why they built it was to produce hydroelectric power, and also for navigation, to help with all their freight ships going up and down the Yangtze from Shanghai to the Jiangling province, which is a lot further inland. And when you build the world's largest dam, you're going to expect people to come and see it. I know I will be when I'm in China. The Three Gorges Dam is 2.3 kilometres long. It's 185 metres high. That is, I can't do my maths, but that's a lot higher than the ceiling. It's higher than the ceiling. It also has an overflow for when the dam overflows. It has a power station which has a capacity to produce 22,500 megawatts, and it has 32 turbines. So the power station is either side of where the flood discharge section is. It has a ship lock which will lift the ship from the bottom of the dam to the top, and there's also a ship lift which is for passenger ships. It's called a marvel of dam engineering. To be the world's biggest dam, it can thank all these other dams. The Margie's Dam was the first dam to have the water diverted. To build a dam, you need to divert the water. And the Margie's Dam is in France. It was built in 1935. The Hoover Dam was the first, which was built in 1936, was the first dam to be made of concrete, which I didn't know that. That was quite surprising. The Grand Coulee Dam, which is also in the US, is the first dam to have, oh, I can't remember now. Anyway, we'll go back to that. The Aswan Dam is the first dam to have cementation which builds up behind the dam. That was the first one the sedimentation. The Krasnoyarski Dam was the first dam to have a ship lock built on it. It was an elevated ship lock. So in comparison to the Three Gorges Dam, as you can see, produces 22,500 megawatts. The biggest dam with regards to output capacity is the Itaipu Dam in Brazil. That only produces 16,000 megawatts. So marvel number one is being the world's biggest dam, it produces the most amount of power. Each of these turbines, you see the figure down the bottom that tells you how big the turbines are. Each of the turbines has an output of 700 megawatts, which is equivalent to a small nuclear power. Each turbine costs $50 million, and the overall output will produce 10 quite impressive. And it will provide electricity to 60 million Chinese, and the last turbine was operational in July 2012. Marvel number 2, copper dams. Copper dams are temporary dams which are built so that the main dam can be built. So in this case, what the engineers did was they built a copper dam on the left bank of the river, out of rocks, and then they built the 2 sections of the main dam, and these 2 sections were completed in 2003. And then on the other side of the bank, they built a second copper dam. This time it was made of concrete. And when they completed that in 2009, they used 19,000 tonnes of dynamite to blow up the copper dam. Marvel number 3, masses of concrete. The Hoover Dam problem with concrete is it takes a lot of time to cool it down. To overcome this, the Hoover Dam was poured in sections. You can see there it's built in little squares, and when the concrete shrunk, you could see gaps in the section, so they fill up with more concrete. They also built a cooling tower with the Hoover Dam, and they cool the water down, and then they shot the water up into the pipes that were already built into the dam, and then they just fill it up with grout, block it all off. So instead of the Hoover Dam taking 127 years to cool down, it only took them 22 months. So when it came to the Three Gorges used 28 million cubic metres of concrete. That's 10 times more than the Hoover Dam. So they tried everything. They used everything they could think of. They tried cooling down the aggregate. They added ice where they could. They even, I don't know whether anyone's seen documentaries on it. There's images of them spraying mist of water so they can cool down the sand. It's quite funny to see. Marvel number 2 is the spillway. So when a dam overflows, the force of the water will hit the riverbank and it can undermine the foundation underneath the dam, which potentially could burst the dam. So the engineers of the Three Gorges built 46 spillway gates, which when the water, they often have the ability to control water, it will deflect the water 100 metres downstream. So that's what loses its force. Marvel number 5 is a ship lock and a ship lift. The Yangtze River is quite busy. It has 170 ships that pass through a day. So what the engineers designed, if you think about it, 185 metres high, they designed a 5-tier ship lock. So what you would do, the ship would go into the ship lock, which is 120 metres long, by 35 metres wide, by 5 metres. So the ship will enter into the ship lock, and then the water will fill up, lifting the ship up, and then it will go into the next tier, and the same will happen. So we'll go through 5 of these tiers, and all up will take 4 hours, which is a long time. So previously, before the Three Gorges was built, there was only 18 million tonnes of freight capacity, but since the ship lock was built, completed in 2003, they anticipate that they're going to move 100 million tonnes of freight per year. That's quite productive. So it is worth it. Alright, the $26.5 million that it's cost to build the dam. What about that one? The ship lift. The ship lift is for passenger ships, and it's basically like a lift that goes straight from the bottom to the top. You can go through it in 36 minutes. It's higher than, it's 195 metres high, these towers, and it was built and it was completed in June 2012. It has 16 100-ton concrete weight, which are connected to cables and pulling up a steel trough that will carry the ship that's in it and the water it's sitting on all the way up to the top, and that is due to be completed in 2015. And marvel number 6, which was what I forgot about, was the sedimentation. One major problem with building dams is all the sediment gets blocked behind the dam, it doesn't go downstream, especially if you have crops or agriculture, or the same thing. So what the engineers of the three gorges did was they built sluice gates, which at the bottom of the dam to let the sediment through, and each gate weighs the size of a bus. So that they anticipate that in 100 years, it will be 100 years before there will be any build-up of sediment that can affect the turbine. So all in all, Three Gorges is a dam, it's a marble in dam engineering. It has the most power output. It had 2 copper dams built. It has mass concrete of actually 28 million cubic metres, that's wrong. Spillways to control the flooding, 2 ship locks and a ship lift, not really dams to have that, and 2 gates to control sediments.